everybody. We're waiting for a few more people to join the webinar, but we will be starting in just a couple of minutes. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Max Joel at NYSERDA. We're going to go ahead and get started while more people sign into the webinar. Thank you all for joining us this morning. This is the Low and Moderate Income Solar Stakeholders Group. It's been a little while since we've all met together, but we've been very busy here, and today we'll be presenting some pretty significant updates. Okay, before we get started with the agenda, just some housekeeping. Right now, all the lines are muted. At the end of the presentation, we will first answer some of the questions that come in through the webinar. Then we will open up the lines and give anyone a chance to ask questions if they're just calling in from the conference call. As we go, please go ahead and enter questions in the chat box on the side of the screen. We will keep an eye on that, but in most cases we'll save answering the questions until the end so we can move through the presentation. So our agenda for today is a brief welcome, and then we'll give some updates from NYSERDA. The bulk of this presentation will be focused on the draft program details for the low and moderate income solar added incentive for on-site residential solar. We'll also touch on the very exciting Public Service Commission order on community distributed generation. Then we'll address some of the questions that come in and open up the lines for broader discussion, and finally get into some next steps. Okay, so just by way of quick welcome, once again, this is Max Joel. I'm the Program Manager for Community Solar New York at NYSERDA. I'd also like to introduce my colleague, Michelle Andre.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Andre. I'm a recent addition to the Community Solar team here at NYSERDA. I joined the program earlier this month. I recently transitioned from working with a Green Careers public high school here in New York City, where I was working on a sustainable buildings program. And also, prior to that, I worked with Grid Alternatives in California. So my background is definitely professionally deeply rooted in working with underrepresented communities in the energy field, and so I'm happy to be able to join this working group.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. So last week, Richard Kaufman and John Rhodes announced the Affordable Solar for All initiative. Now this is in many ways old news to everyone who's been a part of this group. With the working group and NYSERDA and other participants, we've been working on this initiative for quite some time. So in many ways we're not at the beginning, we're at hopefully the end of the beginning. So in the broad strokes, NYSERDA's Affordable Solar for All initiative covers basically as much of the ground we've discussed on these working group meetings as possible, specifically support for on-site residential solar and shared solar. We'll discuss it at the end, but for those on the call who are unaware, 2 weeks ago the Public Service Commission issued an order that will open up community shared solar throughout New York with some special provisions for low-income customers. So on this call, we'll really be focused on the on-site residential solar added incentive. We'll be sharing the complete details that we've proposed for the program. I'll say at the offset, and you'll see throughout the presentation, these are draft details. There's a number of procedural and administrative steps that still need to go into finalizing them and launching the program. We are going full steam ahead on that and expect this program to launch in the fall, and that to be the early fall. But please, the purpose of this call is really to get your feedback and impressions of the program as we've proposed it. Again, this is not final, and we would very much appreciate your comments and discussion on this call. Okay, so let's get straight into the details on the on-site LMI residential solar added incentive. That, of course, will not be the name used to promote it to the general public. We'll be talking about in terms of affordable solar for all. We'll have one of the key parts of this initiative is actually just very clear and well-communicated public information, not a lot of acronyms or jargon. But for this audience, we've thrown in some acronyms and jargon. Top line summary of the added incentive. The amount of the added incentive would match the current relevant megawatt block incentive. So eligible projects for low and moderate income customers would receive double the New York Sun incentive that they currently would receive. Long Island is a part of the program. There is an income qualification requirement. We'll go into all these details later in the presentation. There is a requirement for some energy efficiency components. The added incentive can be used with the full range of financing options, but as a customer protection measure and to meet the core goal of cost savings for low and moderate income customers, there will be cost savings requirements that will need to be documented, and in the case of leases and PPAs, we will require that there not be escalators on those financing terms. With the initial funding coming from the $13 million designated for low and moderate income solar in the Public Service Commission's New York Sun Order from April 2014, we expect between 2,500 and 4,500 installations to receive this added incentive. And it will be administered through the current New York Sun process as much as possible. We'll discuss that a little more later on, but our goal here is really to make this something that integrates administratively into what solar installers and solar customers are already used to, so we don't create a lot of added administrative burden. All right, so just to go into a little more detail on the added incentive itself, as I noted, it's tied to the megawatt block incentive level. What I'm showing here is that this is just the regular megawatt block incentive capacity that remains. So this is, again, just the standard New York Sun incentive that I'm showing here. We put this up there just to demonstrate that there is a very significant amount of capacity left in the megawatt block incentive. The vertical axis here is the megawatts that are incentivized through each block. On the current New York Sun webpage, it shows it as a percentage of the block that's been completed, which doesn't necessarily reflect just how large these later blocks are and how much capacity there is to run in this program. Okay, so getting into a little detail on the incentive size and some of the rules of the program. In this proposal, the LMI added incentive for residential on-site is capped at 6 kilowatts. That is the added incentive that is capped. Projects can receive the standard New York Sun incentive above that amount within the regular New York Sun program rules. We've tweaked one requirement of New York Sun for projects using the added incentive. the size of the system is capped at either 110% of usage after the implementation of energy efficiency measures. Throughout this presentation, where you see EE, it refers to energy efficiency, or 100% of current usage. This is to, again, is sort of a customer protection measure. We don't want to see systems being over-designed and overbuilt, adding cost to the customer, and also reducing the economic benefit if they're receiving the payout at the end of the year at the wholesale rather than retail rate. All right, so I have a couple of examples. It's a relatively straightforward calculation that we can walk through. So this example is an eligible 5 kW project in Con Ed. We'll talk a little bit more about eligibility in a minute. But the current New York Sun incentive is 70 cents a watt, so $3,500 that the project is eligible for through that incentive. The proposed added LMI incentive would match that current megawatt block level, so 70 cents a watt, another $3,500, a total incentive of $7,000 for this project that is eligible. As a second example, let's take the same project but increase it to 7 kW. It's a larger house, higher usage, still meeting that 100% of current usage or 110% after energy efficiency measures rule. The current New York Sun incentive, again, 70 cents a watt, $4,900. The added LMI incentive, again, we propose that it be capped at 6 kW. So in this case, the added incentive would only be received for the first 6 kW, $4,200. The total incentive in that case would be $9,100. So getting into the income eligibility requirements for the program. This is a subject we've discussed quite a bit on some of the previous working group calls and other stakeholder groups. For this added incentive, the income qualification guidelines and process would match the Assisted Home Performance Program. That is NYSERDA's Low and Moderate Income Energy Efficiency Program. So the income requirements for that program are that customers must be below 80% of the area median income, the household area median income, using the county median income as the area, or below 80% of the state median income, whichever one of those figures is higher, which makes the program more inclusive. On the NYSERDA website, currently under the Assisted Home Performance webpage, there is income eligibility information for every county in New York State. You just click on the county and can get that information based on household size. You can also find the income verification or the program application that includes income verification on that website. Prior to launch of the added incentive program, we'll make the same set of materials available or linked through New York Sun, but the application process will be exactly the same, verifying the same documents, household income. So both the solar and energy efficiency low and moderate income programs at NYSERDA will use that same process. If a customer is interested in participating in that efficiency program as well as doing solar, they can use the same application for both. Okay, energy efficiency requirements. So this was something we heard from many of the stakeholders was important. We also heard from other stakeholders, including solar installers, that this need to be as streamlined as possible. Again, on all these points, but I would highlight this as one where we'd really appreciate feedback from the stakeholders. So as those of you who are familiar with the current New York Sun program are aware, a clipboard energy audit is required for all properties that are going solar through New York Sun. For the LMI incentive adder, we plan to require that the clipboard audit actually be submitted in PowerClerk, which is not required of other projects, demonstrating that the audit has been done, the information has been received by the homeowner, and that the required energy efficiency measures have been implemented. We are requiring the basic low-cost energy efficiency measures to either have been implemented or be implemented before the solar project takes place. At a high level, those are lighting efficiencies, so switching out incandescent bulbs in particular for more efficient lighting. And we're also proposing to include the basic hot water efficiency measures, which are primarily faucet aerators. Now those measures could have previously been installed by the homeowner or through another program or another party. They could be installed by the solar installer, by a firm or group working with the installer. We don't specify how these efficiency measures happen. We just specify that they need to happen. Again, with the idea that the main goal of this program is to ensure real cost savings for low and moderate income customers in New York, and in most cases, the most cost-effective way to achieve those savings is through energy efficiency. All right. Again, so we're getting into cost reduction requirements. Again, this was something that there was a great deal of discussion within the working group and with stakeholders about just getting back to that foundational principle of the whole affordable solar for all effort is to provide access to the benefits of solar energy for low and moderate income New Yorkers, but that key benefit that we're trying to achieve, especially through the added incentive, is cost savings to those customers. In the case of this program, it's just for homeowners, but as we'll discuss at the end, next steps will be other programs that can serve other markets. But so for the LMI added residential incentive, we are asking as part of the application that projected cost savings be documented. We've developed a pro forma tool very similar to the Green Jobs Green New York pro forma tool, which many of the installers are familiar with, that is currently required for solar projects receiving financing through Green Jobs Green New York. In the case of projects that will be financed through Green Jobs Green New York, there would be no additional document. There would just be a couple added lines to that pro forma. One thing I'll call out here is the way that the cost savings test is done, both in the proposed added incentive program and actually the current Green Jobs Green New York program, is by comparing the energy savings using a indexed utility rate. This is embedded in the current Green Jobs Green New York pro forma. The rates that are used and will be used with the added incentive program are on the side of this slide. I'll emphasize these are not necessarily the current this month retail rate. This is almost certainly not what customers are paying July 2015. This is an index that was developed based on data from the Department of Public Service. It's been used in Green Jobs Green New York. We will continue to use it here. So the way we'll demonstrate cost savings through the life of the project, again, very similar to Green Jobs Green New York, we'll ask the installer with their application, which again we'll run through the same process as New York Sun and Green Jobs Green New York do right now. We'll ask them if it's a loan, particularly other than the Green Jobs Green New York loan, to indicate some of the basic terms of the loan, and this pro forma will, again, just like the Green Jobs Green New York pro forma, do a little calculation to determine whether the cost savings requirements are met. And just to delve into those cost savings requirements, we're using the quote-unquote 1/12 rule. That basically means that the project has to achieve cost savings year one and every year after that. So the total savings for the year divided by 12, so the kind of average monthly savings, have to be greater than the monthly cost of the system. And so just moving forward to how this would be calculated for a power purchase agreement. It's an even simpler calculation. As I indicated, power purchase agreements and leases are allowed within this program, but we aren't accepting projects where there is an escalator on the PPA or lease. So we're simply asking for the length of the PPA price. Again, since there's no escalators allowed, this is a pretty simple calculation. It just needs to come in below that retail index price that is also used by Green Jobs, Green New York. And it is basically a very simple, similar calculation for the lease, except it's just taking the monthly lease payment and turning it into a per kilowatt hour cost that's compared to, again, that retail price. This is all happening in a behind-the-scenes calculation in Excel. It's only what's shown on these slides is the highlighted yellow boxes are the information we're asking for from installers. Very straightforward, again, designed to really fit in very well with the current requirements and the current process with the Green Jobs, Green New York financing. We've tried to create as few sort of new administrative requirements and processes as possible here to make this accessible not just for customers, but frankly for the solar installers that will need to be out there doing this work. Okay, so just to reiterate that point, the application process will run through PowerClerk. Installers will check a box in PowerClerk that, or select an option that this is a project applying for the low and moderate income on-site residential added incentive. They will enter, of course, the usual New York Sun information, as well as the documentation for the requirements we've discussed on this call. And again, the income verification part of the process, which if some of the stakeholders have only worked with the solar program, may not be familiar with, that will use the same system that we currently use for the LMI Energy Efficiency Program, Assisted Home Performance. That form is available online. It will be sort of the same form and application for the solar program as well, again, in the interest of verifying that the customers receiving the benefit of this incentive are the target audience, but also that the process is streamlined and we're not inventing a whole new set of paperwork for everyone. All right, so at this point, we've talked through some of the program details. I see some questions have come in. We'll get to those in a moment, but one thing I want to acknowledge is that NYSERDA, and I know the stakeholders don't see this as a build it and they will come kind of proposition. We know that there'll need to be a lot of outreach, a lot of partnership development, and that will really be at the core of the success of this program. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Andre to talk about some of our planned work in that area.
Great, thanks. Yes, just briefly touch on some initial thoughts about some possibilities for building outreach and engagement. Top line, as single-family affordable housing developers that would be looking to offer this to portfolios of households. Also, municipal portfolios of low-income homeowner grant and loan recipients, where we might piggyback on services already being provided to homeowners or homeowners who've previously received some home rehab or other services through that funding source. Again, speaking of the Assisted Home Performance Program and other low-income EE programs offered through NYSERDA and utilities, just thinking about engaging customers who've already already been reached through those programs, reaching out to those databases. Also thinking about some of the other campaigns that are going on around the state around solar, and really encouraging those campaigns such as the Solarize, other cleaner, greener communities, and other specific projects going on around the state to really kind of beef up the attempts to reach out to low and moderate income homeowners within those areas and as a part of those campaigns. And then something that I'm really hoping that can be accomplished through stakeholders involved in this working group is really around developing some innovative campaigns that within communities that will create some real added value propositions and just ways to really make some inroads into communities around the cost savings that are available through the solar installation, as well as other potential benefits that communities can offer. So again, just really looking at getting some feedback and input from you all around how to best move forward with some of these and some other possible pathways.
Great. Thank you very much, Michelle. So before we go to questions, I do just want to touch on the community distributed generation order. This was issued on July 17th. It authorizes community net metering, which in essence means that a customer can receive net metering credits for solar or other distributed generation located at a site other than their property. This is also known as community shared solar, just community solar, shared solar. Regardless of the name, it is I believe a tremendous opportunity for New York State, and perhaps nowhere is it going to have more impact than the low and moderate income sector. Community distributed generation allows renters to directly participate in the solar programs. It allows customers who maybe can't afford 5 or 6 or 7 kW array on their own property to buy into something smaller, and it generally reduces costs by allowing solar developers to build larger arrays on one site versus distributed or more smaller distributed arrays on individual residences, especially, and as we've heard from the working group, one of the big barriers to doing rooftop solar with lower income customers can simply just be the structural condition of the house and the roof. This gets around that problem as well. I encourage stakeholders who are interested to read the order. The program rolls out in phases. During the first phase, in order to move forward, community distributed generation projects will either need to be located in specific utility areas that have been designated as having a real need for distributed generation, or they will also be able to participate if more than 20% of the customers are low income, defined by HEAP eligibility. So just to point out there, that is a different and more stringent income eligibility standard than what we're talking about for the LMI on-site residential incentive. This is all very new. We do plan to have specific NYSERDA support through the program, the New York Sun program, for these projects that focus on low-income customers. And as noted here, the order also kind of kicked off a collaborative process to help define that as well. So that's all the detail we're going to discuss on this in this call, but just wanted to make sure that everyone who's participated in this group is aware of it. All right, so before we go to questions, just getting into some of the next steps, which sort of readily apparent is to finalize this and to get it launched. We've definitely we've had the very astute concern raised by some of the stakeholders that even once decisions are made, there's a significant kind of administrative program infrastructure process that needs to happen. I want to assure everyone we've been working on that for quite a few months now. The scaffolding has been built. So this is definitely not the starting gun for NYSERDA internally to build out this program infrastructure. As I've said, the details we shared today are draft details. They still need to be approved through a filing with Department of Public Service as well as internally. However, we are poised to move on that basically immediately pending further feedback from stakeholders. I hesitate to give a date for the opening of this program because of all the steps involved and because we have not heard the feedback coming out of this meeting yet. But we certainly anticipate that it will be in the early fall and really as soon as possible. With that, we're going to go to the questions and discussion section. We're going to put it on mute for just a minute so we can look through the questions that have come through online. We'll try to address those, and then we'll open up the line for folks that are just calling in. It's going to go quiet for a couple minutes. Please stay with us. Okay, everybody, this is Max. We're back. Had a chance to read through some of the great questions that have come in. I think some of them were covered over the course of the presentation in terms of exact eligibility by income. There were some questions that came in at the end about community distributed generation. I'd just refer people to the order itself. I think all the questions are addressed in that order. I just don't kind of have the exact text available off the top of my head. There was a question about the federal ITC subset. That, as everyone on this call knows, will impact the solar industry broadly, including, of course, low and moderate income customers. Some of the questions just here aren't really anything we can address on this call right now, but it is something we're going to have to be thinking about. Sort of a specific question about the next steps, about whether there will be a compliance filing. That's correct. There will be a compliance filing with the details of this program. Putting up our other box here. All right, so there was a question about provisions preventing penalties or escalation rates for late payments for lease/PPAs, the LMI recipients. So that's a really good question. I'd say more broadly, how will we manage terms other than just the straight up, price per kilowatt hour or the regular monthly payment? That's an area where I think we'd really appreciate some specific feedback from the stakeholders. How can we manage that? Are there some clear requirements or guidelines we could put in, and how can we do that without making this sort of too unwieldy to actually be used? We're not necessarily going to be able to do to read the text of every lease or PPA that comes through. How can we have good consumer protection but still have this available is a question we'd really love the working group to continue to help us answer. A question about the pro forma index rates, noting that they are inaccurate. I'd say they, as I mentioned, they definitely don't match the current rate, month to month. They are, meant to be an index. So, I'm not sure if I would consider them inaccurate, but they don't. They are just different from the current retail rate. The reason they are used is because they are, more broadly applicable than the month-to-month rate. And, again, as we've heard from kind of both directions from the stakeholders that we needed to enforce, 10%, 20% savings up above and beyond that, and then from the other direction that we just need to ensure some savings. Using this index seems to be a good way to be, quite conservative, because the index rates are generally below the current retail rate, though that's not necessarily always the case, while still being pretty clear and simple administratively, and being quite confident that customers will receive savings. Okay, question about the start date for eligibility, and can projects be sold and installation begun before that date and still qualify for added incentive? Excellent question. I actually do not have an answer to that. We're going to try to figure that out and address it. I'll say it looks like it'll be difficult to kind of go back and give the incentive to projects that have already begun before an official start date, but we'll have some more clear guidance on that, and thank you for pointing out that that's necessary. Bring this back up. All right, so again, kind of a question about that required savings. Why didn't we make it significantly higher, 50% or more? So that is been the push and pull here. Again, when we worked the numbers using those quite conservative index rates, the upfront savings, like the year one savings, would not be significant, but because those numbers are so conservative, and because the electricity escalation calculations we use are so conservative, we would anticipate sort of significant and growing savings down the line. So over the life of the measure, I'm not sure if 50% would be achieved, but much better than zero. In most of our scenarios, the savings to the customer would exceed, depending on their utility territory, would exceed the amount of the additional incentive within 10 to 15 years, and that's sort of important to us on a program level. We obviously don't want to be putting, in the example, I think it was $4,200 in additional incentive into something that will only save the customer $1,000. That's foolish. We should just be writing checks in that case. When we run the model out, the savings are higher, and in some areas significantly higher than the added incentive. I don't know if we hit 50%. Question, who is, I think the question is, who is the contact for the energy efficiency piece of this? If you have kind of questions, comments, feedback related to the requirements for the LMI solar adder, please refer them back to Michelle Andre, who's, I believe you all received an email from her. If you're just generally interested in NYSERDA's low and moderate income energy efficiency programs, I think we'd first refer you to the website, and if that wasn't able to address your questions, we can certainly put you in touch with someone in the management of that program. So question about where we are. Michelle and myself are both in NYSERDA's New York City office. So just another question about schedule. You know, when will the application be released? You know, again, it'll be the same application as already exists, just with some additional documents for the E, though again, so the question is specifically about the energy efficiency documents and application, I believe. So the clipboard audit is already required for all New York Sun projects. We will be putting out some more information about what we specifically need to see in that. But again, this is an area where we look to the stakeholders to assist us here. If you have a really good clipboard audit that you already use as an installer, or other audits that you think would meet all these requirements, you know, let us know. That would be helpful for us. Question about how are tax credits calculated in this model. Short answer is they are not. This model just sort of doesn't make any specific assumptions about whether or not the homeowner would be able to use the tax credits themselves if it was a purchase or loan situation. We sort of ran our model as if they could not, using some of the Green Jobs, Green New York assumptions for interest rate and whatnot. The savings are, of course, much more limited if they can't take the tax credits, but they are there, and they're real, whether or not the homeowner can use the credits. Great question about Long Island. Given that the standard New York Sun incentive is running out, or is projected to run out relatively soon, what happens if that standard incentive ends before the funds designated for Long Island for the added incentive run out? The answer is we will continue going with the added incentive. It is not from the same pool of funds, so when that standard megawatt block runs out, it's gone, but the 20 cents a watt added incentive for Long Island for LMI would still be available until those funds run out. All right, a lot of questions at the end. Can you send this presentation around? Yes, actually everyone should have received this presentation yesterday afternoon or evening, but we can certainly send it back around again. And let me just see if any new questions have popped up on the other one. Okay, a question about whether homeowners that have already used assisted home performance, will they be eligible for the new solar incentive? The answer is yes. We will need to set kind kind of a time limit for when the income verification is still eligible. So if someone participated in assisted home performance a few years back, they would be eligible for the added incentive if they were going solar, but we would most likely need to have their income re-verified. If it was kind of happening at the same time or right afterwards, within some time period, we would not need to do the income verification again. I think that covers all the questions we received. All right, so what we're going to do now is unmute the phone lines. So I'm giving everyone fair warning. Mute yourself on your end, please. If there's background noise, if you're in your office or in your car or whatever, we'll all at once kind of hear everything. So I'm just going to give everyone a minute to hit mute on their own line, and then we'll open it up. We do have almost 40 participants, but we'll try to keep this orderly. I want to give people who are only calling in a chance to ask questions. So just hold on a moment, everybody. Okay, everybody, you're all about to be unmuted. Just muted my. Okay, we are now for real hitting the unmute button. Okay, everyone is unmuted. Are there any questions on the phone line?
Hi, this is Kate Shackford.
Hi, Kate.
Hi. I had two questions. One, can we start the clipboard audits before the program's rolled out if we don't do the installations till after the adder's available? And you will make it my second question.
Oh, sure. Well, let me, we can get for the answer to the first one, I think we just refer to the current New York Sun program rules in terms of when that has to be submitted. I'm not sure if it says anything about when it has to be conducted, but we can, get that question answered.
Great. And the second is, if a homeowner already has taken out an on-bill loan for the Green Jobs Green New York, can they take out a second one for the solar?
I know that that question is being looked at and has been for a little while by our Green Jobs Green New York program. I'm trying to remember if we have an answer back yet. I'll need to get back to everyone on that. I'll just need to look into that, whether or not that's been resolved. But it's an important question. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks.
Other questions online? And thank you, everyone, for muting yourselves. This is great. Usually we have barking dogs and slamming doors in the background.
Hi, this is Ilana from Solar One. I actually had two questions as well. The first was on whether the incentive and or the Green Jobs Green New York loan could pay for the lighting or energy efficiency upgrades, if that's all they're doing as far as efficiency in addition to the solar.
That's a good question. I mean, on the incentive, that's just, the incentive is just going to the project, so, whether the installer and the owner kind of turns around and spends some of that in lighting, I'm not sure is really kind of like, visible within the program. In terms of the Green Jobs Green New York scope, that's a good question. I think if there were efficiency measures going through Green Jobs Green New York, it would just need to work the way it does now if a project is doing efficiency and solar at the same time using Green Jobs Green New York financing, and just follow that process. But we'll kind of dig down on that in a little more detail.
Great. And then my second question was just on the index rate. I also kind of have some concerns about how much discrepancy there is even within utility territories on what people pay for electricity. I mean, I just know the Con Ed example closely, and I'm wondering if you would consider actually breaking that down more. So, even if you have an index, but it's per county or something that's just a little bit more precise, I think that also, would help make sure that people aren't getting unnecessarily disqualified, and at the same time really ensure that they are seeing the savings you're expecting.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that. We've tried as much as possible to parallel the Green Jobs Green New York data, but that specific question, like can we break it down within the utility territories, we'll try to figure that out. Thanks.
Hi, Max and Michelle. This is Stan from Grid. Just another question on the energy efficiency piece. Have you looked into the potential of connecting this program with other energy efficiency programs in the state, like the LIHEAP funds that come through and provide, especially these low-cost energy efficiency measures to families for free, and to ensure that there's coordination between existing programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question, Stan. That's a good point. So, the answer is yes. Of course, our first choice and the best thing for the customer would be to get them signed up for, weatherization and power, assisted home performance if they're in that moderate income space, and get not just the basic energy efficiency services, but an even broader range of efficiency services for free or lower cost, before alongside they do solar. That would, meet any requirements for this added solar incentive. So I should have made that more clear. If a customer is going through or has gone through, Empower or weatherization or assisted home performance, we would assume that this requirement has been met by those programs.
Can the referral go the other way? If they sign up for this program, can they be automatically enrolled? I don't know what the income requirements are, but enrolled back to the energy efficiency program, so that you get the broader measures, all
yeah, that's a good question.
Free.
So one thing we've been discussing is, requiring that, any customer engaged to this, if they qualify for Empower, for example, that they receive the application and information about that, that they receive the information about weatherization and assisted home performance. Right now we're not anticipating requiring the customer to be enrolled in one of those programs as a precondition for this, but yeah, again, our goal would be to get the maximum level of efficiency services that the customer is entitled to alongside this, or even as an alternative to this, if the free energy efficiency programs are definitely the most bang for the buck in terms of customer savings.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Max?
Hello.
Hi, Max. It's Marcy. I just want to hello. I just want to give some answers on to the questions that were asked previously. One was in regards to the clipboard audit and whether or not there's any rules in effect right now for when that can be performed. Right now, it can be performed prior to putting an application in. Obviously, we don't want it done, years and years ago, but if you want to do it beforehand, you can do that. And in regards to the Green Jobs Green New York loan, right now our rules are if you do have a loan limit up to $25,000 for the Energy Smart loan and you've used $13,000 as an example for a PV loan, you can use the additional moving forward if you want to have another loan.
Thank you very much, Marcy, for providing those clear and accurate answers, which I could not. Do we have other questions on the line? I'm not seeing any other questions. I'm just going to do a quick check of the online question board. So everyone, please hold on for just a moment. Okay, we don't have any new questions online or on the phone. So with that, thank you very much for taking the time on this and on our other sessions. Again, please do follow up with us with more specific feedback and ideas for how we can address some of the issues that have been raised on this call. And we're looking forward to working with you to roll out this program. Thank you.